Good morning, everybody. Wisconsin entrepreneur and candidate for U.S. Senate Eric Hovde is our very special guest today, Thursday, May 23rd, 2024. For DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden, and you're watching DrydenWire Live. A quick special thank you to some of our recent guests, including Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District Representative Tom Tiffany, Wisconsin's 25th District Senator Romaine Quinn, Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald, who joins me every Tuesday for our weekly Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy show, and President of Business Operations from the Milwaukee Brewers, Rick Schlesinger. You can watch a recording of those shows and all of our previous live shows right here on our Facebook page, on our website at DrydenWire.com, or just go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/DrydenWire. But today we're chatting with Wisconsin entrepreneur and candidate for U.S. Senate, Eric Hovde. Eric, good morning, sir. Thanks so much for coming on.
Good morning. Great being on your show. I hope everybody's having a fantastic start to their day.
Well, it looks like you are. You're outside. This is maybe one of the few times we've ever had a guest that's outside.
You know, it's gorgeous out. I love this time of year. May, June, July are just spectacular in Wisconsin. I live on a lake here in Shorewood Hills, which is, a suburb of Madison. There's the lake behind me.
Sure.
It's kind of hazy out there. So I thought, why the heck not? I'm in offices and cars driving all over the state. And, when you're running from morning to night, you don't get often to sit outside. And you're in the North Woods. You guys love nature. I love nature. I love being outside. So, what a great spot to do it from.
Well, I actually had a chance. You were actually in Spooner, speaking of Northwoods. I'm here in Spooner. You were in Spooner about a month or two ago. I think it was the 7th Congressional Caucus. I went there because, Tom Tiffany was there, Romaine was there, but Brad Schimmel, he's been on the show a few times, but I've never met him in person, so I went to say hi. I was there for a half an hour. But when I got there and you were speaking, but I didn't get a chance to actually meet you, but I got a chance to watch you speak for a while.
Oh, fantastic. I'm sure we didn't get a chance to shake hands.
Yeah, well, hopefully soon. So because it's the first-time guest, we kind of want to get to know you. I did have a few things written down right before you came on. I Googled your name, and I looked at news headlines, and there's 3 of them that I'm pretty sure none of these are accurate, or they shouldn't be accurate. I want to get to that in a little while, but first, before we even get to campaign stuff, let's get to know Eric. So if it's all right with you, we kind of just start, where were you born? Where were you raised?
Sure. I was born in Madison, grew up in the village of Maple Bluff. Lived there my whole life, went to Lapham Elementary, Sherman Middle School, graduated East High in 1982. Man, that was a long time ago. Time goes fast. I then went off to my first year at University of Whitewater, but I ended up transferring back to UW-Madison, so I became a Badger. Why did I transfer back? Because my high school girlfriend went to the UW. I came back, and a year later we break up. How often do you hear that story? Yep. And so I'm a UW grad. I then ended up, after college, moving out to Washington, D.C., where I lived, actually Northern Virginia, and then lived in D.C. My father went and served President Reagan in 1981.
What?
So he was the highest ranking official in the Reagan administration from the state of Wisconsin. And so I would visit Washington while he was there, because he left when I was between my junior and senior year of, the end of my junior year of high school. My mom left the summer between my junior and senior year. I was not going to move to D.C. I was like, I'm not leaving my senior year and going off to another place. So, back then they're like, okay, fine, you can stay at home. And so I'm a very independent person. I started living by myself right from a young age. And but I'd go out and travel. So after I graduated in end of 86, I moved out to D.C. and lived there, and I started working for an investment advisory business that advised community and community banks. And that's really the bulk of my career. I started my own company. I was young and bold enough to believe I could do it. And so then I started another company that did asset management for troubled assets for banks. Then I ended up buying a troubled bank and then turned that around. And then I started buying troubled banks, community banks all over the country, and restoring them and getting them back to health. Got into the asset management business. I'm your classic serial entrepreneur. I at one point had multiple companies, and I built a lot of different companies and all the rest. So, and then I have a real estate development company here in Wisconsin back in the 90s. Bought a couple properties here and started rebuilding a family real estate business. More important than my business aspect, I'm married. I have been with the woman of my dreams who I love and respect, and have 2 daughters and 3 grandchildren, 5, 4, and as of yesterday, a 1-year-old.
What? Congratulations.
Yeah. So I've been a very blessed man. Another big part of my life has been my foundation. I started a foundation in the 90s to focus on medical research in multiple sclerosis. You may ask why MS? Because I have it. I got diagnosed with MS when I was a 27-year-old man. That's kind of an earth-shattering thing to get a diagnosis of at that point.
Forgive my ignorance. I've heard that before, and I've watched West Wing, and I think that was one of the characters, the president on that show. What is MS exactly?
MS is multiple sclerosis, and MS is what it does is it's probably caused by a virus, maybe a genetic component. And what happens is your immune system goes awry and starts attacking your nerves. So when you think of your nerves, think of like a cable cord. You have the metal wire that goes in that sends the signal, and then the black coating of a cable wire would be like the myelin on your nerve. So on your nerve, it's just like a cable wire. You have the axon that sends the signal, and then you have the myelin sheath that covers it and protects that signal. So what happens with MS, your immune system goes awry and starts attacking the myelin sheath, and then it can eat all the way through the nerve. So sadly, it's a very serious disease. 30% of people with MS get progressive disease, and it will finally, you will lose your maybe ability to see, walk, breathe, and it results in death. 70% is relapsing, remitting, where you'll have an attack, it'll eat away at your myelin, you'll go into remission, but you may have residual damage. And about 5% of people have a benign, maybe one attack and then nothing really advances too much. I had a lot of issues in my 30s with it. But through a variety of things, it has been pretty benign now for 20 years, just about. Yeah, 20 years. Not to say I don't have issues at times, but it's been pretty not benign. I'm a health fanatic because of it. I work out 1.5 to 2 hours a day. This morning, because I had this, I was up at 5 pumping weights and exercising. I eat super clean. I just live an extremely healthy lifestyle. So
when you were at age 27, you got diagnosed. What were you doing at that time in your career? I mean, there's banking.
I was running my companies. I was building my companies.
Sure.
At 27 years old, look, I was a 225 pound, very muscled, 6'3" guy who, thought he was Superman. Like a lot of young guys, we all have that mentality when we're in our 20s. We're invincible. Nothing's going to take us down.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you get this diagnosis, and it's like, what? I have MS, and I didn't even know what MS was. And so I had to study it and learn about it. And then, I in my mid 30s, around 34, I started 33 or 34, I started having some real problems with it. And yeah, I used to pray to God, just give me till 40, let my daughters know, my younger daughter know the man I am. So it was, a tough time, but for a variety of reasons, I was able to, persevere. And with medications, my lifestyle changes, and a variety of other things, I, my MS has largely been in remission, and yeah, still here at 60 years old, charging as hard as ever, and you know, thankful to God that I've been blessed with this life, and that my disease didn't take me down.
Amen. So you were back to, you had the foundation that you have as well. What else? I mean,
Yeah.
I went through you had an announcement. We posted your announcement that you were starting your campaign. I should have gone back and looked, but I remember there's bullet points of all and it's holy cow. You are an entrepreneur, still an entrepreneur. You were one of those overachievers, and we don't like overachievers because you make the rest of us look bad. What else have we missing on the bullet points here of what you do?
Well, I ended up in my 2000 really moving my foundation. I still fund medical research in MS, but there's a lot of medical research now. So there's so many pharmaceuticals, all the rest. So, back when I was funding it, there wasn't as much money. So now I don't have to put as much attention on that. And there's a lot of medications out. But I moved my foundation to really focusing on rescuing children, abandoned children, and children that are caught in the sex trade, or in the case, and we have 9 Hovde homes around the world. And what we do is we partner with groups. We have 4 in Africa, 5 in Central and South America. We have a 10th in Madison, but that's different. That's single mothers, that are in difficult situation. But in Ghana, we're rescuing children out of slavery. Yes, there's still a lot of slavery today. We have Mombasa, Kenya, Kigali, Rwanda, Malawi. We're in Guatemala, Honduras, and Costa Rica. Costa Rica is just rescuing girls out of the sex trade. Peru and Bolivia. So we have homes around the world that rescue children, because when you're abandoned to the street, your parents may have died, you may have been being abused by a parent, or whatever the reason ends up on the street, you suffer everything. You're homeless, hunger. A lot of them become glue addicts because they sniff glue to suppress their emotions and their hunger. They get sexually trafficked. It just every malady you can think to children that did nothing, just did nothing. So it's been a big part of my life. And we also have many things in the U.S. I've been partnered with, do you know that guy, Ashton Kutcher, who was on that 70s show?
Yeah.
He started something called Thorn to rescue kids out of the sex trade. There's an enormous, and this is in the United States, enormous amount of children underage are in being sexually trafficked. And so I put up the money to found something called Spotlight. It's a tool that law enforcement now uses all over the United States. FBI uses it because a lot of kids and prostitution's done online. So it can track and pick up the signals that this person, this girl or boy is underage, and pick up the signals for it. So that's a big part of my life, my foundation. Outside of my companies and my foundation and my family, as I mentioned, I'm very, physical. I work out. I love swimming, water skiing, snow skiing, you name it. I'm doing it. Biking, hiking. I'm an outdoors guy. Unfortunately, I've had to spend too much of my life sitting in an office, but I love the outdoors.
Good morning, Neville. There's a question from Neville and from Bob. If we get time in the end, we'll ask some of those questions. And also, good morning, Representative Gabe Magnifici. She said, come visit us in Polk County. I'm assuming she's referring to you, Eric, because I just saw Gabe. So.
That's kind of her.
So now you have all these things that were going on in your life, and I'm sure we could spend so much more time just on that. And then what? You woke up one day and said, I know, U.S. Senate. So where did that come from? I mean, that was kind of out of the blue. Is this something you've been thinking about? I thought I read somewhere that you ran for something before. I can't remember what it was, but it was a while ago. So, what was that for? And then why did you decide to run for U.S. Senate?
Okay. So I ran for the U.S. Senate. I got in 2012. I was in a primary against Tommy Thompson, Mark Newman, and Jeff Fitzgerald, who was the Speaker of the Assembly. Mark was a congressperson that had been the Senate candidate for the Republicans. Why did I run that first time? Because I got tired of screaming and yelling at the television set. During the housing bubble, I was writing and talking about it. I was on television. I used to co-host Squawk Box at times. And I was saying we've got a massive housing bubble, and it's going to have very, detrimental impacts to this country, to our economy. And I was talking about it for over 2 years and meeting with congressmen, senators, Federal Reserve officials, trying to warn them. And nothing was done. Obviously, we know the consequences of that. The housing bubble blew up, cratered the economy, and did so much damage. And then I saw the policy reaction where they bailed out Wall Street, and Wall Street and the government were responsible for it. And then they let the community banks and Main Street die. And I was so enraged by it that I remember it clearly. After the 100th or 200th time of yelling at the television set, why don't better people run? I was brushing my teeth. And it's like, why don't better people run? And I looked at myself and I'm like, why don't you run then?
You were literally looking at yourself in the mirror.
Yeah. And I was like, well, why aren't you doing it? You've been fortunate. You're blessed. You understand the issues. So get into the race. And so I thought about it, talked with my wife, and we ended up doing it. Came close, almost won. It came in second place by just a hair, lost to Tommy. Tommy ended up losing to Tammy.
Yeah.
And I thought I was done. I was like, all right, I'm done with, I am done with politics. I tried my part, and I went back to my private sector life and enjoying my life and having, doing the things I enjoyed to do and all the rest. And then I wake up in the last 3.5 years, and I feel like I've woken up into a bad dream, a bad episode of The Twilight Zone, where what is right is wrong and what is wrong is right. And I don't care at any level, whether it's our economy. They've added more debt in the last 3.5 years than our country's first 230 years. They've ignited the worst inflation, the price of food, the price of gasoline, the price of insurance, healthcare. It's just skyrocketing. It's hammering the middle class and the working class and the elderly who live on fixed incomes. I look at that defund the police movement. I sat there and watched State Street in Madison just get destroyed, boarding up my buildings, and this is insanity. Okay, I have no problem with peaceful protesting, but they're openly letting the destruction of properties, the amount of people that get injured and hurt, and then these liberal prosecutors being put in all our big cities and watching our big cities melt down, and then our open border, and you just go Afghanistan. I was the most embarrassing time in my life as an American. We left our American and Afghan allies behind in Kabul. We left billions of dollars of military equipment, high-tech military equipment. We pulled out our military. We did everything backwards. And then, surprise, surprise, you got Russia moving on Ukraine. You have Iran through Hamas and Hezbollah moving on Israel. China getting more aggressive. So on multiple levels, I couldn't sit on the sidelines. And I said, well, I'm a patriot. I love my country. And that's another thing. The how we've been teaching in our schools and what we've been educating our kids, we've collapsed patriotism. We've told them their country is flawed and it's wrong and it's irredeemable. Are you kidding me? We live in the greatest country in the history of mankind, the country that's given us more prosperity, more freedom. We saved the world not once but twice in the last century from tyranny and oppression. And I couldn't sit on the sideline anymore. And I said, and we've got this Senator Baldwin, who literally is just a rubber stamp for all this progressive left. She votes with Joe Biden 95.5% of the time. She's all talk, no action. We're losing 100,000 largely young people a year to fentanyl. And, she's running ads. Oh, I'm doing something against fentanyl. She hasn't done anything for fentanyl since she's been in Congress. She's been there for 26 years, and Senate. And what did she done? Because I'm talking about it, she's the what is it, seventh or 28th co-sponsor on another senator's bill right now. So I just finally said, you know what? Get into this race, go for it, and see if you can make an impact to try to help your country.
What did your wife say this time?
Well, it took a little bit of convincing. She's very deeply concerned about her country. I'd always come home from work. I always worked late. I'd walk through the door 7:15, 7:30 at night. She'd always have a nice meal prepared, and she'd be, honey, did you see what happened today? And I'd be like, no, I've been working all day. And so, she's very deeply concerned. But in saying that, it's a gruel, it's a grind. You get attacked nonstop, and in a perfect world, she would rather not be doing this. In a perfect world, I wouldn't rather be doing this. But we don't live in a perfect world. We live in an imperfect world, and our country's in not a very good position right now.
How do you handle that when you have things that, I mean, just how it works, politics, especially at this level that you are in an election for U.S. Senate, when you hear that stuff, whether it's pundits or people that are writing negative things about you or putting you in a negative spotlight. So I'm not even talking about like your opponents, but I mean just the stuff that's out there and the noise that you hear. I mean, you had just mentioned we're all human. I mean,
Yeah.
You have to be a thick skin, but come on, right? Doesn't it kind of get to you sometimes?
Yeah, to some degree, but look, for however ugly you think politics is, multiply it by 10, and maybe you'll get a concept of how ugly it is. And the progressive left and what Senator Baldwin, they sent protesters to my house. They had somebody show up on Halloween at my home. They misstate everything. All they do, look, they've spent $4 million blasting it all over the state that said, I'm a Californian. I, I've never been a resident of the state of California 1 year in my life. It's stunning. I'm a Californian banker. Okay, well, my bank was located in California. I travel there a lot. I finally, in 5 years ago, after my younger daughter graduated from Edgewood High School, in Madison, my wife and I bought a home out there just because I got tired of staying in hotels when I went and visit. But my home is Wisconsin. I'm a fourth generation Wisconsinite. Born here, raised here, went to UW. I've had a business here for over 20 years. I've raised my younger daughter here. Are you kidding me? I've spent more time than Senator Baldwin, but they spent $4 million all over the state telling people I'm a Californian. So, some of it you laugh at, you let it roll off your back. Some of it you don't even digest. And then, there's others that it more pisses me off. I hopefully can say that on your show, but just gets me angry. I mean, like they're taking some totally thing out of context when I was talking about election fraud and how there was that investigation Racine by the sheriffs finding out that nursing homes were voting 100% and adult children showing up and saying, who voted for my parent? They're totally incapable. They're dying. They have dementia. So they took that out and saying, oh, Eric Hovde doesn't believe elderly should vote. No, I don't believe elderly should be taken advantage of. So you got to deal with all this crazy nonsense, but you just keep plugging ahead and keep going. And when they're hitting you like that, it tells you they're scared. And Senator Baldwin's scared because she doesn't want to talk about her record. She wants to talk about everything else but her record, because her record has been one of, she's voted for all these spending bills. She has voted to open our border. She has done nothing on fentanyl. In fact, opening our borders where all the fentanyl pours over from. It's manufactured in China, sent to Mexico, shipped up through our southern border. And you can go one thing after another. She supported that deal with Iran that not only Obama did, that transferred all that money, But then Joe Biden stupidly went back and tried to do the same deal. She supported both. So she doesn't want to talk about her record, so she wants to play the politics of personal destruction, and that's what they do.
But isn't that the kind of the advantage that the incumbent always has? Like you would be more of the, I wouldn't say unknown, but in terms of where you would vote and how you would vote, there's no record of that. So isn't that always why an incumbent usually has an advantage? Because I can show you these are all the things I've done. So you would think those would be the things that you want to showcase.
Yeah,
right?
But she has done nothing. I think Senator Baldwin is, as I said, been in Congress or the Senate for basically 26 years. I think she's, other than signing on other people's bills, I think she's renamed a couple post offices and a few minor other things. I mean, it's stunning her lack of record. She is basically a backbuncher, rubber stamp for whatever the progressive left wants.
Well, speaking of articles and news and headlines, I have found 3. I Googled your name this morning. Pardon me. And first of all, I don't think any of these are true. So I didn't click on it and read them. So you tell me if these are true. The first one I found, it says, on Amazon trip, Eric Hovde ate armadillo, swam with piranhas. Okay.
True.
That can't, no, it isn't. You realize you
true.
don't actually have to swim with piranhas. Like, it's not like a job requirement at all. You're getting, what?
Yeah. So let me tell you, and it's interesting. Milwaukee Journal Sentinel always puts a headline, but if you read the story, there's substance and it ties into my MS. So when because I was a workaholic most of my life, I made a decision when I turned 40, I was going to take 3 great adventure trips. And I've been in around 100 countries around the world. I love adventure travel. I'm not one of, don't get me wrong. I like going to a nice resort and sitting on a beach and all the rest, but I love adventure travel. So I like going in different spots, crazy spots all over the world. And the first trip with a buddy who was an airborne Army Ranger, who grew up one of my best friends, we decided to go to the heart of the Amazon. So we literally went into the heart of the Amazon. I rented a boat, and we're up, here in the thicks of the jungles, and literally, swimming in waters where piranha is. Yeah, we did eat an armadillo and all the rest. But why they wrote that article is because it ended up having a big impact potentially on my multiple sclerosis. I came out of that trip. I had bad pains in my lymph nodes and joints. It started about a month later, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I went on for 6 months, seeing more and more doctors. Finally, somebody said, look, you're in the Amazon. You got to go see a specialist that deals with people that are used to traveling to these parts of the world. So I did, and pretty quickly discovered I had 2 parasites, E. histolytica and Giardia. And, I took medications to get rid of the parasites. But lo and behold, what I started realizing, I had no MS feelings or attacks while I had that. And then it continued on and on. Well, interesting enough, at the University of Wisconsin, there was a Dr. Fleming who did research and believed one of the reasons why MS is not prevalent around the equator, countries around the equator, is because most people live with parasites. So your immune system never goes awry because your immune system is always focused on fighting the parasites. So it may have helped caused a reset to my MS. There's weird things in nature, like, they're starting to use things like spider venom and snake venom for different things. Nature has a weird way of healing, So ironically, being in the heart of the Amazon, getting 2 parasites may have played a very positive role for my MS. I can't say it definitively, but there's definite research that supports that. And for me, my MS kind of went away for a year and then kind of stayed very benign after that. So
that's crazy.
It's totally crazy.
I wouldn't recommend swimming with piranhas, but hey, everyone can do their own thing. Here's another one. Again, these are the headlines that I found this morning when I just Googled your name. Eric Hovde promises to donate Senate salary to charity. Quote, I can't be bought. Okay, again, you realize this is how it works. You do a job, you get paid for it. That's how this works. So that one can't be
That
true.
is that is how it works. It's 100% true. Look, the bigger thing than me donating my salary, and I'll address that. The bigger thing is I'm not taking any corporate money, any special interest money. Washington has become corrupt. It's been bought off. I mean, look at Senator Baldwin. She takes money from the big pharmaceutical industry. She takes money from all these special interests. Her staff is a revolving door of lobbyists. I just said, I'm not taking any of it. As it pertains to the salary, I've been blessed in life. And I thought, every year what we'll do is we'll have charities submit for this donation. My staff, my foundation staff will pick out 3 or 4 worthy candidates, and then we'll put it out to the people of Wisconsin to vote which one they would like to see it given to. Yeah.
And that's a decent amount. That's what, like, I don't know, just probably almost a couple $100,000 a year for Senate, right? Got to be up there.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit over, I think, 200,000. So, so it'll be a nice thing to do. As I said, I've been fortunate. I give enormous amount of money away to, not just through, my foundation and to the Hovde homes and the other things, but to, I deal a lot with children in crisis or people in crisis dealing with, drug addiction and things of that nature. So, and happy to do it.
Okay, so you're swimming with piranhas and you're donating your salary. You would donate that away. You're getting terrible. I know Ben Vocal, by the way, and I've always considered him one of the best political minds in Wisconsin. But if he's giving you this advice, seriously, this is just terrible advice. Here's another one: shirtless, and I assume this was in the winter because the picture, it was next to this headline, and it looked like it was cold. Shirtless U.S. Senate candidate submerges himself in Wisconsin lake, issues challenge to opponent. Now that one I feel like could be real, but again, you don't have to jump in water in the middle of the winter.
Well, I got into the power of cold about 6 years ago.
What?
So I just turned 60, but somewhere around 54 when I'd play tennis or lift heavy or jog or whatever, my knees, my hips, my ankles would feel beaten up. And, what do athletes do? They go into an ice bath, football players, basketball players after. So I started doing that, and it made my joints feel better. But what I also then learned, there's this gentleman by the name of Wim Hof, Hoff. You can pull him up online. He's known as the Iceman. And he goes into the research of the power of cold and these breathing exercises. And he's got all these Guinness Book of World Records and all the rest. And what comes of it, it also improves your immune system, and it also releases a lot of positive chemicals. So you actually get, feeling really good after do it. You have to get used to going into very cold water. So, when they were running and talking about, I'm a Californian and all the time, and I live on this lake, and I'd go into it up until it freezes, and then once it starts to unfreeze. And one day I'm going out there, and I took my cell phone. I'm like, Senator Baldwin says I'm a Californian. Let's see who's more. And so I did a laughing joke. It was the craziest thing. That video ended up getting like 1.9 million views because people couldn't believe a guy would go in, break through, at that point the ice was very thin, break through and sit in freezing cold water.
So that one also is true.
That one's true. You got 3 for 3. Usually, most of the stuff the press writes is totally wrong, but you actually found 3 of 3. The 3 that you wouldn't think would be believable.
I would not think. I thought, honestly, I'm like, one of these, I thought maybe they were taken out of context. That's what I'm like. They can't be like, they're true, but not really true. But I'm surprised to find out that they're all true. You are an outdoors person, so this... I think it was Congressman Tiffany, a month or two ago, a bill that he was a part of passed the House with bipartisan support. It's in the Senate. I don't know if anything's been done with it in the Senate as of yet, but it was about delisting the gray wolf. Where do you stand on that issue, that topic?
Yeah, I think we should absolutely delist the gray wolf. Uh, Look, I understand when the wolf was, on the endangered species list, and still is, but when the population was almost nothing. But the population has totally come back. It's the population is very robust, and it's having an impact on our deer population. It's causing significant problems for our farmers and all the rest. Again, Senator Baldwin waffles on that issue. She says one thing down here in Madison and another thing up in the North Woods. I'm very clear. It should be delisted. And I agree with Congressman Tiffany. Tom's a good man.
What we've already blown past our normal amount of time, which is perfectly fine, but I want to make sure to ask you, is there anything that you want to make sure that we should talk about that we didn't get a chance to talk about yet?
I can't think of it. Look, there's a lot of issues and problems in our country right now. Our healthcare, the accessibility and affordability, and people up in the North Woods understand everything I'm talking about. Our school systems, 27% of our kids can read at grade level in the state of Wisconsin unless they're proficient in math. I mean, it's been a complete collapse. I'm worried about the division in our country. I really think we have to come together. The crazy progressive left, they have a totally different vision. They're a pack of socialists, and they want to remake America, and man, they have. But there's a lot of good Democrats and independents and all the rest. We need to come together and restore our country. We have a wonderful country. I want people to be patriotic, proud of their country. They should, because let me tell you, as I said, I've been in 100 countries around the world. And we are so blessed to live in this wonderful country.
I agree.
Pursue our own dreams. So, no, I think we covered a lot, Ben. I really enjoyed being on your show.
You can come on anytime.
Look, we're definitely going to do this again.
Oh.
I love it. Look forward to shaking your hand.
We'll wait until after the primary. Do you have primary opponents? If so, I honestly, and I'm not saying this in any
Not
weird
really.
way, I didn't know. I haven't heard of any. Is my point.
No, there's a woman that's running, Rafsani, but really no viable primary opponents. Tom Tiffany was looking at it. A couple others were looking hard at it, so which is a benefit, because a lot of times when we lose, Republicans, conservatives lose at the top of the ticket because we go through that bloody primary, and then it ends so late in August. And then the Democrats just pour all that money from the big tech guys and Hollywood and all the rest on you, and it buries you. So fortunately, I don't. So running hard, running fast, and looking forward to defeating Senator Baldwin and trying to restore our country. So
hey, real
Ben,
quick,
you're awesome, man. You're awesome.
Well, it's Memorial Weekend. What are you doing this weekend? Let me guess. We've got piranhas. Swimming. I mean, what does a person like you do on Memorial Weekend for entertainment?
I'll be running all over the state to different functions. That's my feet, my ankles. I'll need a double ice bath after all the running around and parades and stuff I'll be doing. So, but I will be taking Sunday off and going to church, and then hopefully getting out on that beautiful lake for a bit.
Attaboy. Eric, thanks so much.
All right, take care. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you. Special thank you to our guest today, Wisconsin entrepreneur and candidate for U.S. Senate, Eric Hovde, for taking the time to come on for a chat with us. I'll see all of you right back here on Tuesday when Barron County Sheriff Chris Fitzgerald and I'll be back for our latest episode of Positive Tuesday with Ben and Fitzy. So until then, for DrydenWire.com, I'm Ben Dryden saying thank you for watching and have a blessed day.